welcome back to Appalachian Expose. Of course, I'm the franchise Shane Douglas, and sitting next to me, a guy that needs no introduction, referee, manager, backstage, contributor, all-around brain for the business. Teddy Long, good to have you, brother.
Nice to be here, man. Thank you so much for having me.
Appreciate it, brother. It's like I said, well, these are always. I never go for the Barbara Walters, like try to get them to cry or anything. Right? And I'm sure it's going to be the same thing today. In every single one of these interviews, as my viewers know, I learn stuff about guys I've known for 30, 40 years every single time. So I'm eager to get started with that. So
okay,
let's dig right into it. We got Mr. Long here has got a pretty busy day. We're going to have to get him out of here. But what was it? First of all, how old were you when you started watching wrestling? When did you become aware of professional wrestling?
Oh, man, I guess I might have been in my 20s, probably 20 years old. I started watching. I would take, me and my son would go down to the TV station in Atlanta when they was taping at TBS. It was Georgia Championship Wrestling.
Yes, sir.
So I started going down there watching the TV tapings. And so what happened is the way I got involved with wrestling, every weekend, me and my son be right there for that TV taping. So we run into Abdullah the Butcher. He was had just come to town, and so he'd like to go to the bars and stuff, and he didn't know his way around. And just out of the blue, he just picked me and started talking to me. And we started talking. He said he wanted me, just start showing him around. So by me being with Abdullah, on Saturday mornings, he would come out my house and get me, and then he'd take me to the TV station with him. And by me being with him, I could get in the back with the boys and everything. But
Sure.
They made me feel real uncomfortable because, like I was saying earlier, man, kayfabe was really dead serious back then. They didn't play.
Yes, sir.
So what happened with me is by me being backstage and everything, by looking at me, I said, well, I guess I better start doing something. So I started making myself busy. I started emptying garbage cans.
There you go.
I started running errands. I'd go downstairs to the restaurant downstairs, and I'd get food for the guys and bring it back up. And so the other thing that they really started liking me for is I started going to the ring and getting their gear. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times the guys would take their gear to the ring and they would forget about it and leave it, and some of the fans would steal their gear and take it.
Yeah.
So I would always protect and bring their gear back. So they kind of liked me for doing that, man. I kept up with their stuff. So that's where I started being comfortable in the back. And the other thing I did is one time after I'd been around so long and everybody kind of knew me, they needed somebody to put up the ring, take the ring down. And so the promoter at that time was Louise Manning, and she's living today. I talk to her every once in a while, yeah. And she gave me that job to put the ring up, taking the ring down. So I went to Cobb Civic Center in Marietta, Georgia one night to put the ring up. Got there about 7 o'clock. We got the ring up and everything. There was no referee. So Louise come to me. She says, Teddy Long, you're going to have to referee tonight. And I said to her, I said, well, Louise, I don't know anything about refereeing. Right. She says, well, don't worry about it. So the guys will talk to you. They'll help you. So the first match I got, they sent out, got me a referee shirt. The first match I had was Black Bart and Ron Bass. And they were in a Texas death match. Well, they started bleeding all over the place. I don't have a clue. I'm not smart. I don't know. They scared me to death. I jump out of the ring. I leave them. As I'm getting out of the ring running from him, the announcer, the ring announcer, Charlie McGowan, the bell keeper, he's screaming at me, get back in the ring, get back, what are you doing? Get back in the ring. So I'm just caught, I don't really know what to do, So finally I eased back in the ring and I could hear I heard Ron Bass tell Black Bart, God damn it, did you see what the referee just did? Oh, I know what happened now. They had a gimmick. Yeah. And they dropped the gimmick. And I picked the gimmick up, and I threw the fucking gimmick out of the ring. And that's when Black Bart said, oh shit, did you see what the referee just did? And then I heard it, I'm like, what did I do? Yeah. So I kind of survived that. And the way that I got out of that, Shane, is when they got ready to go home for the finish, Charlie McGowan rang the bell too quick. He fucked the finish up. They got so mad with him till they forgot about me. That's how I survived that. Wow. So that's how I started refereeing.
So again, I was saying, like, listening at home for the kids out there, made yourself useful. Yeah. Instead of just sitting there. Most today would come in and sit down and talk to the boys and everything. But instinctively, you knew to get in there and start doing something because it's kind of...
They're staring at me, and I just felt, I felt this. I couldn't just stand there, and so I just said, well, I got to start doing something. So I just started emptying the garbage can. Yeah. I saw the garbage can full, I picked it up and emptied it. I said, y'all need any food? And, I started running errands and doing stuff. And, they kind of, got relaxed with me.
Guys from out of town can't get to the restaurant, can't get their gear at the ringside. becoming useful.
And
right?
it was good. The good part was getting that gear, because back then, man, the jackets and stuff, guys didn't have money to buy that stuff.
Sure.
And for me to make sure you kept up with it, man, that was it. Because they would always have me, Taylor, make sure you get my stuff now.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's how all that started.
Well, actually, that helps abbreviate. I mean, most of it's typically the discussion of, like, well, watched it since I was 5, 6, 7, trained, loved it, met somebody, trained, that kind of thing. So it sort of abbreviates it fast forward. When I came into the NWA, by that time you were a cog in the wheel and involved in the matches as far as like the refereeing and doing all of that. But you could see that the powers that be at that time, the Dusty and the Dave and name slips right now.
Jimmy Crockett,
Jimmy Crockett,
David Crockett,
yes.
J.J. Dillon,
all
he was
those
part of
guys,
that booking.
And they started, I would see like interacting with them quite a bit as a young green kid, not knowing, paying attention. And then later when I would leave and then come back to the NWA, which sort of become WCW, now you're involved in the booking meetings. And, as a young kid coming up in the business, you're instinctively aware of the people that are in that room doing that. This is the important stuff. So talk about that for a few minutes. Like, what was the trajectory from somebody picking up in the dressing room and getting the guy's stuff to referee to now involved in the booking?
Well, here's what Dusty, God rest his soul, here's what he did for me, and I didn't even realize, I didn't even know what he was doing. I came in one of those production meetings, I went downstairs, got this food, and I was bringing the food back, and so I walked in the production room to give everybody their food. So as I got ready to walk out the production room, Dusty says to me, he says, "No, Teddy Long, I want you to stand right there. Stand right there, baby." So I'm just standing in this production meeting, and they're talking, going over everything to show, I ain't got a clue what they're talking about. I'm just listening, and really I'm wanting to get out of there. I'm scared to death. Sure. I want to get out of this room, but I can't. So I'm just standing there. But as I stayed in the business, all that came back to me. Now I know what they meant when they said that. Okay, I got this now. I understand what Dusty made me stand there. As I stayed in the business, I learned. Yeah. So I learned so much from that, and I remembered all that stuff, that they were talking about back there. So that's how I got involved, with booking and, helping things out. And I had a chance to ride with Kevin Sullivan and Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert. And as you know, they were masterminds of this business. And I rode with them for 6 months, maybe a year. So a lot of people didn't know when Kevin was booking the NWO, I was right there in that room with him. Yeah. People didn't know that, but I learned from him. I read and I started giving him, well, what do you think, brother? And I give him little ideas and stuff, just off the top of my head. So God just blessed me. That's all.
It's one of those things. First of all, I just want to throw a little note in there. This is why I've always loved Teddy Long, because you're always so positive. Like, you might go to the ring and screw the match up and come back and go, well, yeah, but you did this and did that. It was always that sort of positive side. And I'm sure with Dusty and Kevin and Eddie and all of those guys who had great brains for the business, realized somebody's paying attention. He's following along, getting it and starting to go. And I've always said with anybody I'm working with, they want me to call the match. That's great. I can do that. But I want two minds. Your mind and my mind together are better than one mind. And
I always say this, Shane, when I talk to people, I tell them the reason I ask for your help, because I don't know it all.
Right.
I don't know it all. I just, I can help you out, but let me do that. I'm not going to tell you what to do. I might need you to help me out. Right. All you have to remember is everything you do out there has to make sense. It's just that simple.
How many times I say that?
If it don't make sense, it don't make dollars.
Amen.
It's just that simple.
And if you don't want to delve into this, fine. I have a tendency to think you will. With all the racial tensions and everything going on in the world today, I hear this stuff. In wrestling, I was quite aware of that old school, around the time you're breaking in, some of those guys coming from where they came from, and their upbringing and everything, not judging it either way. Did you experience any of that coming into the business?
Well, yeah, I had a lot of with the racism, man. I had people to call me the N-word, you know what I mean? My thing was this, sometimes that upset me a little bit, but I had to learn, and I learned in this business that sometimes those people would do that so they could make you mad, where you could do something stupid and you fire yourself. Yeah. So that way it ain't on them. Well, we didn't fire him. He said this. He did. He got mad at us, and then you fire yourself. But that was a game. Yeah. So I had to learn. I learned all that. So I never did say nothing. I just moved on. My thing was this: you can say what you want, just don't put your hand on me. If you don't put your hand on me, then I ain't got no problem. Yeah.
I think we've both seen the trajectory in the business as those guys got older and sort of left out of the business. My experience in the business had always been sort of like the UN. Like, I don't ever recall it being like, I can't have him, he's black, or I can't have him, they're white, or anything in between. My only concern was, are you going to help me have a good match out there? You're going to call a good match for me that my opponent going to help?
Right.
So, like, with that, would you agree with that? Like wrestling, once it started getting pushed out of that 70s, 80s, and into the 90s, that was pretty much a bygone thing.
Well, it's still, some of it's still going on today.
There, sure.
You know what I mean? Some people just ain't gonna, they just refuse to change.
Yeah.
They don't give a shit what happened. They're gonna be them regardless.
Yeah.
So, you just have to get by that. And I wanted to stress this too, when I went to work for Vince, I stayed in my spot 9, almost 10 years running this man's company.
Yeah.
Vince McMahon, you work for him. This man is dead serious. He don't play. It's strictly business. So this man would not have left me and put me in that spot for 9 or 10 years if I hadn't have been doing my job.
Yeah.
So Lord Nidus was the talent relations guy. So you're gonna tell me you can't bother me because I'm doing my job, so I ain't got no problem there.
Right.
So the only thing else it could be is the color of my skin.
Yeah.
So he screwed me so bad, but he didn't think I knew, but I knew all the time exactly what he was doing. Mark Arana told me one time, and he's in charge of talent relations.
Yeah.
I went to Mark Arana, I says, Mark Arana, I want to know about my Legends deal. After I went to Hall of Fame, I said, what about that? He looks at me, now he's the guy in talent relations who give out the Legends deal. He looks at me and says, you don't have one?
He was unaware.
Huh?
He was unaware that you didn't have one.
He give them out.
Yeah.
He's just lying to me.
Yeah.
He's looking at me like, oh, you don't have one? Like I don't know any better.
Right.
Okay, so I didn't smarten him up. I said, no, I don't have one, Mark. So then, well, we're gonna have to get you one. Then he give me a number to some lady wanted me to call in Stamford. I called the lady later. I said, I'm sorry, I have no idea what you're talking about. So I didn't call no more because I knew then, okay, but that's how he thought how stupid I was, that I didn't have something to know he give out the Legend deal and I don't know why I don't have one.
Right. Incredible, because before I came in, I have misspoken a couple times and said when I was getting into the business, but right in that time, either right before, right after, like in that mix right there, I remember on WWF, Grand Wizard managing Don Morocco and wrestling with Rocky Johnson, the Rock's dad, of course, and he'd be sweeping up in the background, eating watermelon and bucket of chicken and stuff. And I remember watching as a kid and going like, wow, like what are they doing that for? And wrestling then was, the Baron von evil German, and it was like all the stereotypes so overtly. And as somebody coming into the business, were you aware of that? Okay, having not started watching till later, were you aware of those types of just repugnant type of angles and storylines?
Well, some of it was a way to get you.
Yeah.
Some guys, they had it out for them, and those guys didn't know they had it out for them, so they do stuff and send you out on TV and have you do it on TV, which they were burying you, but you didn't know you were being buried. You wasn't really smart to the business. You had to learn all that.
Yeah.
And I was telling this story about, I remember one time a guy came there and he come in all cocky and stuff, they couldn't tell him nothing, and so they went and smartened Vince up about him. So next thing I know, Vince sent Bruno out to get a body bag. So when they brought the body bag back, the guy went out to the ring. When they beat him, then Vince told the referees to get the body bag from out under the ring, and they put him in the body bag and zipped it up. So Vince let him know you're done. You dead. We just buried you. And the guy had no idea what they were doing to him. Yeah. So it's so many things you got to learn in this business to try to protect yourself.
Yes.
Yeah, because if you don't protect yourself, nobody else will.
Correct. You'd spoken about Dusty Rhodes, rest his soul, earlier. Convey to the viewers Dusty's thinking process, his booking process. Very similar to you when we were in TNA. We're in a team meeting one day, and he never spoke to me. I'm like reading what I have to do today, and he said, Shane Douglas just been appointed the head of talent relations, and I'm like what? I was unaware. So I think the same as you. Like, saw Teddy sticking around, knew you had an idea. It's time to bring him into the fold. So talk about Dusty, what his impact on the business, his impact on you working, his thinking process.
Well, Dusty was a great guy, man, a genius for this business, had the greatest ideas in the world. The Crockett Territory NWA was on fire.
Yes.
And that was because of Dusty's book, and he was a genius. And Dusty, like I said, he let me sit in those meetings, so he just took a liking to me. So he gave me my first job, the referee job. Dusty gave me that job. Yeah. Well, I also found out later on down the line that Ted Turner had saw me on the TV, and Mr. Barnett told me, there's Jim Barnett, so he said, well, Teddy Long, Ted Turner wants that black referee on his TV. Now, Mr. Barnett told me to my face, so okay, now I know. Now I know my position.
Yeah. Sort of like God speaking.
Yeah. So, but Dusty really took care of me. He looked out for me, and after I, made it to start being GM and managing, when he came to WWE, me and him would always sit down at the table and talk. And he just always looked out for me, took care of me. So I appreciate him as of this day, because without him, I wouldn't be where I am right now.
Having sat in on his booking and watching how he worked, character development, storyline development, right? Was Dusty one to take much of, we're doing storyline A, and we're halfway through it, and all of a sudden something big in the world happens.
Mm-hmm.
Twin Tower attacks, some crazy news thing. Was Dusty nimble, quick to pull that into the storyline and mix it in?
Not real quick, but he would get around to that. You know what I mean? He would use like events that have happened to make money. And to make a perfect example of that, the reason Sergeant Slaughter and the Iron Sheik made so much money is because they were having a war in Iraq and Iran. Yeah. So, everybody's wanting the USA to be on top. So that's how, with Sheik and Slaughter, that's how all that made all the money, because the people wanted to see the USA take out Iran or Iraq. And that was real, because they were having a war at that time. So they made money with that.
Absolutely. And probably a modernized version of the same thing the old school was doing with the racist stuff and the repugnancy, playing off of those. Again, everyone knows Shaky, again, rest of the soul, that, it's heartwarming to me to see that Sheik became this sort of like mythical thing online, because he's from a bygone era.
Yeah.
Right? And all those guys are sort of pushed behind and forgotten. And Sheiky was somehow able, with the social media stuff, to keep himself in the mix of things.
Yes, they kept staying alive.
Correct. So, when you made the trajectory from referee, first of all, how many years were you a referee?
About 2 years.
See, in my head, it's longer than that. I'm thinking like 5-6 years.
No, it's about 2 or 3 years, maybe. It wasn't that long.
Boom, boom.
Well, here's how that started.
Yeah.
After they gave me the referee spot and everything, I was still riding with Kevin Sullivan and Eddie Gilbert. Okay, well, my background, I was a disc jockey on a radio station.
Yeah.
So every night we get ready to leave the town.
A voice like that? How'd you do that?
I have no idea. So we leave the town, we get a 12-pack of beer, you know how we right there, we hit the road.
Yeah.
And so once I get 3 or 4 beers in, I start turning the radio down, I start DJing for them.
Yeah.
Well, they looked at me and they're like, oh, this guy can talk. Well, they saw something that I didn't see. I had no idea they were thinking about me being managing. I thought they were just, putting me over. So Kevin's idea, he went back and he gave the idea. I think Flair had something to do with the book in the end. Flair didn't want to do it. Kevin told me that, but some kind of way it did happen.
Yeah.
But that's how I started managing. Is Kevin and Eddie Gilbert went back and told them that I could talk.
Yeah.
And that's when they put me in, and they Nancy Sullivan, God rest her soul, she was Kevin's wife at the time. She had Butch Reed and Ron, and they were called the Evan Express. They had the hoods on.
Yes.
And when they found out I could talk, they put them with me, and that's when they took the hoods off, and that's how I ended up getting with Butch and Ron.
See, exactly what I tell my son. My son's in Nashville working a group called Dando Veins, just put out some of the first music, telling him, doors are going to slam in your face constantly.
Yeah.
Keep pushing through, because you have no idea what's on the other side. So in this case, Connor, if you're listening out there, DJ comes in, fan, following the wrestling, starts plugging himself in, gets referee. All of a sudden, Kevin hears you doing this in the car. Completely serendipitous. Just traveling down the road. Kevin Sullivan, somebody who had, like he said, the mind and the foot in the door, said, this guy can talk.
He went and told him that.
And this character's born.
That's how it all happened.
Incredible.
That's how it happened. And the good part about that is after I got with that and I started managing and stuff, then I started learning a little bit, you know what I mean, what my role was and what I was really supposed to do.
Yeah.
So it took a while because nobody would tell me nothing. So back in the day, it's on-the-job training. You had to learn on your own, and if you didn't get it, you didn't make it.
Right.
So I went through a lot. You know, I've had guys walk up to me, and certain guys, I won't call no names because I'm trying to get rid of that.
Sure.
I put that in the past behind me. But one guy walked up to me, he looks at me, nigga, we ain't got rid of you yet. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
So I listened to that, but I just kept right on going. Like I said, say what you want, you know, because I learned you're trying to make me mad. You're trying to make me fire myself.
Yeah.
But they didn't know I was smart enough to know that.
And you're going to win in the end.
Yeah.
If there's such a thing as winning or losing, but in that kind of a confrontation,
Right.
I can be stupid about it and get fired.
Right. Or you
get
got to
it
play
off
the
my
game.
chest or play the game. Exactly right. Yes,
Right.
It's so at the time you start coming in to the office, you know, there were so many. For me, having blessed with a long career, it's hard for me to always plug in the exactly when I was here, when I was there, but I have memories. And I remember you being the integral part with the booking committee, and you know, bringing the information out and disseminating it from there. And not long after that, in my memory, you're in the WWE. What was the wrap up? What happened in the NWA, WCW? Were you contacted by the Fed, or was it something happened there that pushed you out the door? Or?
Well, when I left WCW, the same guy that said to me, we ain't got rid of you yet, he was part of that, of getting me out of there. Okay? So I left WCW. I thought I was pretty much done with wrestling and everything, so I went home, and so...
Let me stop you there for 1 second. Had you grown so sick of the BS part of the business?
Well, yeah, I was tired of it, but you know what I mean? Like I said, I still wanted to try to make it, you know, because I understood I was going to get the racial problem and all that. And, you know, I couldn't get past that. You know, I just want to try to make it.
Sure.
And so I was able to succeed and make it. And one of those people that said that to me, I was able to call him out. I didn't call a name, but when I made my Hall of Fame speech, I looked right at him and I said, because I can talk now.
Yes.
Okay, I made it. So I just said to him, you know, all you naysayers and said I had no talent, well, God and Vince McMahon proved you wrong, didn't he? And that was all I said.
Sweet, yeah. And there's nothing better feeling than when Company A, Promotion A says, well, we got nothing for you.
Yeah.
And then Company B, C, D picks you up and boom.
Well, then when I left WCW, well, I was at home. And they called me, WWE. Well, no. When I left WCW, then I went to Jim Ross called me and gave me a job, and he told me, he said, well, you're going to have to take a step down. They don't want you managing right now. You're going to have to come in being a referee. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm like, okay, I don't care. Sure. I just give me a check. Okay, I don't care. All right. So for me to walk out and it had been all that fame, you know, and then now I'm walking out with stripes on, you know, they thought that was going to kill me. That didn't bother me. People couldn't understand it because a lot of people started cheering for me when I would walk out as a referee. But Ben and them didn't know they were cheering for me because they knew my background with Butch and Ron and all that stuff. So I just stayed there refereeing, and one day, I was refereeing there, then Law Nighter screwed me right there. I went to Hawaii. And Tess, God rest his soul, he's dead now. He got in the ring and he's working with Kristen. And Tess didn't kick out. He went down, I made the count. 1, 2, 3. Tess didn't kick out. So then they tried to blame it on me. They said I counted them out. Well, Tess told me on down the line, he said, I didn't know they were trying to fire you, man. He said, but Johnny told me don't kick out.
No kidding.
So Tess told me that.
Wow.
So Johnny fired me, sent me home. So he got me that time, so he thought he had me.
Yeah.
Well, I stayed home, I don't know, just a month or two. But anyway, they had this production meeting. And then Sergeant Slaughter, Michael Hayes, and Earl Hebner, they was looking for a manager. And they was talking about bringing Ernest the Cat Miller in. That's who Lord Nighter's wanted. Yeah. So Sarge and Michael and Earl Hebner told Vince about me. He said, you got him right here. He's refereeing. Yeah. So Vince, they called me about 2 o'clock in the afternoon to come to TV in Providence, Rhode Island. I had $2 to my name in my pocket. I didn't have no suit, I didn't have nothing. I just got on the plane and got them with them $2 in my pocket. I went to Providence. When I got there, they had Bruno, the guy that did the running. They had me to go with him somewhere to a mall. And I didn't get a suit. They got me a jacket and some dress pants or something. And I walked out on TV with D'Lo Brown that first night. And I cut this promo on Tommy Dreamer. And when I come back to Gorilla, Vince McMahon was standing up and he said to me, he said, I can't believe I've had you ready under my nose all this time. And I said to him, I said, well, there were people back there could tell you, but maybe they just didn't tell you.
Yeah.
And then he said the other thing to me, he said to me too, he said, you know what? He said, they really wasted you down south.
Yeah.
Said that to me. Those were the two things. And the next thing I know, he started writing stuff. Vince McMahon wrote the White Boy Challenge. All that was him. He had this promo where I cut on Jerry Lawler one time. I said to Jerry Lawler, I said, you may be a king to all these people in Memphis, but to me, you just another cracker with a crown. And Vince, he loved all that stuff, man. Yeah. So that's how the White Boy Challenge got over.
You know, and you always hear these things, you know, when you're a kid growing up, your parents tell you, like, don't force relationships. If they're going to happen, they'll happen. Mm-hmm. I'm sitting here as you're saying this story, telling me this thing that happened to you. I'm wondering if you had gone there and went right to Vince and said, hey, Vince, I can do promos and I'm good at this and good at that.
I'd have never made it.
He'd have thought, we don't need to.
Never have.
By taking their path, sort of like Dusty and the polka dots, right?
Yeah.
Going out and making it work.
Yeah.
He sees it, and then Bing, he wants the idea to be his.
Right.
And it's phenomenal.
Well, and the thing with that, you know what I mean, that was part of, I think, you know, when we were in NWA, you know, Dusty would always kind of bury WWF. He'd always talk about it, you know, you don't need to go there, baby, and all that. So I think Vince never got wind of that, you know, so I think that was kind of their punishment for Dusty. But Dusty was like me, okay, I'll take this, I'll get it over, I'll show you. So he didn't bother him. You know, so I didn't let that shit bother me. I just did my job, you know, so they found out, okay, I got it.
And not only got himself over with it, got Sapphire over with
it
too.
Exactly.
Right? Took her right along for the ride.
Right.
That was always my take. Now, Dusty and I had butted heads at times in my career, mostly over my inability to understand at that point.
Yeah.
But I was always, you said, you know, what a great mind earlier, and just to chime in here, my 2 cents worth. Towards the end, as Dusty is, you know, not well, and we can see that, I start running through my head, and I remember there was an incident in St. Louis, Missouri at the Keel, I was going to say Kemper, it was a K. Keel Auditorium.
Kemper is Kansas City.
Yes, and I had just that week, we were still with UWF at that time, and NWA had bought it. And I had done my receipts for the year, and I had spent $1,100 more than I had made. And I was running the roads like everybody else, right? So I went to Dusty, and we went out, and there was, if you remember down in the corner, like we went to the grill, the entrance, there was a bench concreted into the floor right there at the corner. And I sat down on the bench, and he sat down, slid down, like he was my father, like slid down, put his arm around me, he said, I got big plans for you, kid. And it wasn't immediate. But down the road, my big push, he tells him getting in Gainesville. And in Gainesville, we get there and he brings me and I see on the thing, I'm working with Arn Anderson. They put me over on Arn Anderson. Wow. Like, holy shit, this is a push, right? And we get in there and he starts telling Arn, not even really talking to me. He's like, why don't you get in? Like, the Anderson would work his arm, you stay on that arm, you work at Shane Douglas, you get to that rope, you break it, referee asks you, give him, you say no to keep going. And he said, at the end, referee, just ring the bell. I went, that's my big push. I get my ass beat, but to this day, when I'm working with somebody that does submissions, you'll hear 1 or 2 voices, the franchise won't tap. Dusty Rhodes planted that seed 35 years ago.
Yeah.
Almost 40 years ago.
Learned from it.
Amen. Incredible, right? Just that he had the ability to see that far down the road and knew how this would play in wrestling fans' heads.
And you didn't forget it. You remembered it.
Absolutely. So you've mentioned Dusty. You've mentioned, I heard earlier with James, Paul Heyman. You've mentioned the Crockett's, Eddie Gilbert. A bunch of the really bright names in our business had Kevin Sullivan, the brains for our business. Put all those names into a hat. Include Vince McMahon. What were the similarities? What were the differences? What were the strengths, weaknesses? And maybe give him some sort of ranking, which is probably unfair to do.
Well, I would have to say I have to give the ranking to Vince.
Sure.
He's a genius. Yeah, he created this. Okay, a lot of people don't understand that. You know, that he created all this. You know, so how are you going to defeat him? This is his game.
He's the NFL.
Yes, sir. And so I think I'd give the highest credit to Vince. I'd come on down with take Kevin Sullivan, Dusty Rhodes, Eddie Gilbert. There's no one there that could exceed the other. I think these 3 minds here are just so good. There's just a tie right there. I mean, they're all 3 of them are just great. So I just don't see to me, the one is higher than the other.
Sure.
I think they're all right in
Oh,
that
yeah.
same basket, man,
Yeah.
because they all are just so smart.
Yes. Well, and, you know, you and I always said, I'm sure you agree with me, I'd love to be 20 years old again, right? But to be 20 now, I'm not so sure. We were in the business, I mean, go back to that first couple dressing rooms you sat in and look around that room in your head.
Yeah.
How many future Hall of Famers, how many icons, how many legends, everybody in that dressing room, including the enhancement talent, knew their way around that ring like the back of their hand.
And we don't have that now.
No.
We don't have that now. I was just talking to James Hugh yourself. When I went to the last, I did the SmackDown and Raw draft. And when I broke in, you know, when we walked in the locker room, we'd walk around, we'd shake everybody's hand, introduce ourselves, even though if you knew the guy, you still go around,
Sure.
shake their hand, respect.
Yes.
I ain't got never said one word to me, never walked by me like they never even knew me. Girls, I mean, they're young talent, but it didn't bother me. I know you don't know no better.
I was going to say, they don't know.
But they should have people to teach them. You know, when you're down in NXT, you're not only learning how to wrestle, you need to learn how to conduct yourself in the locker room. You know what I mean? You need to be able to go up to the older guys, the veterans, and be able to ask them, could you give me some advice? Could you help me out? Did you watch my match? Did you see anything that I did wrong? They don't do that. They don't come and ask you nothing. And my other thing too, like guys, you know, and I've mentioned like guys that are retired, but they're still out here, you know, trying to do this. Why wouldn't you just go to Hunter or Vince or somebody and ask them to give you a job in NXT and pass that knowledge along to these young kids and show them what this is all about? This is about drawing money. This ain't just out there looking good. You know, like I said, Vince told us one time, you can't go to the bank and take money out if you ain't putting none in there.
That's right.
So he's saying you ain't sold no tickets, how can I write you a check?
Right.
So you need to understand what this is. This is a business, you know, and so I think some of the older guys that are out here still struggling is to go down there and get a job. It's a check, man.
Yeah.
And then plus you helping that young talent, helping somebody make it one day.
Right. It's, you know, we, again, just by luck of when we were born, sitting in those dressing rooms and all those people you and I have talked about in the last 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Those guys took us by the nose and spoon-fed it to us. Steve Austin, when I did his podcast several years ago, we hadn't spoken in 10 years. We were always great friends, maintained great friendship today, but we're just on two different paths. And we spoke for probably 2 hours before we even started recording. And he asked me this question. Do you mind, he said, it posed it like this, do you mind if I ask this during the interview? How long did it take you to feel comfortable in the ring? And I was sort of like in my head, going through my head, and I'm thinking, okay, about 87, 88. I hadn't mastered it by any long shot. But if something went south in the match, my hair wouldn't catch on fire. I'd take a breath, what would Bruno do or what would Dominic do? Calm down and grab it and learn. I still learn stuff. But I had, as a fan growing up watching business, I had that catalog in my head. And then I had 6-7 years experience at that point. These guys taking me by the nose and basically played Simon Says,
Right, they took it serious back
Yes.
then. Nobody's serious anymore. You know, it's like, I guess now the business is what, WWE, so it's entertainment.
Yeah.
But I don't forget what brought me to the dance. I don't forget where I come from. If it wasn't for the old school, then I wouldn't be sitting here where I am right now.
Yes.
So this is what got us to the dance. So you can never forget this,
Right.
and you can never leave this. So that's what they need to be taught too.
Yeah. And I hate the direct comparisons because it's like my sons will say, well, LeBron James is the greatest. I'm like, well, Dr. Jay-Z, Magic, whatever. You're going through these.
Yeah.
It's really, when I taught history, I used to teach my students, history is contemporary. So if you try to judge 200 years ago based on what we know today, you're spitting in the wind. You got to put yourself in a time machine and look at the business in the 80s and the 90s and before that.
Right.
But these kids, like largely, I was asking a kid the other day, name not important, good young talent at an indie show, and I asked them in 4 years, they've been working for 4 years, I said, in 4 years, how many times have you been in the ring with a bona fide veteran, somebody who's been on the road for 20 years and made it? You thought of saying, you went one time, Alstom. And I thought, wow, when I was in the business for 4 years, every night I was in the ring with a Black Bart, Eddie Gilbert, Terry, top guys, as Watley, people teaching me. They just don't know. But, and again, I don't want to make the head-to-head comparison, it's unfair. Contemporary lens again. Current product to the product then.
Well, the product now, some of it is good and some of it is bad.
Yeah.
And I think right now, I watch WWE, and I think right now, with the only thing I think that's really good now is the bloodline.
Mm.
And the reason I really like that is because it's family, and that's true. That's real,
Right.
and that's gonna make you money, because what is happening with that is happening somewhere in somebody's everyday life.
Yeah.
So I think that's what you need more of. You need to be more real, you know, and but like I said, it just ain't like that no more. So I've learned to adapt and just go along with whatever they want to do.
Yeah, I'm always astounded at the kids' athleticism. Just as I'm sure as Bruno and Dominic's generation were probably astounded with us coming after them.
Yeah.
But we didn't draw near the money those guys did. But they could see that we had learned from them and took the pieces of that.
And they know.
And they know that.
Yeah.
Now today I'm watching it, and try as I might to watch it, I don't want to be critical of the business or the kids today. But you said eloquently, I think they just don't know. They weren't sitting in those dressing rooms. But I don't see anything that we did. It's like a football player watching baseball. It's great. I mean, I'll applaud the
It's
athleticism.
nothing we've done.
Yeah,
It's nothing we've done. With some of it, you may see similarities,
yeah,
but that's just about it.
yeah.
You know, there's no real true storyline. You know, there's no something that catches your eye that makes you stop for a minute and pay attention and sort of, you know, looking at it.
Yeah.
I don't get that no more. I don't have nothing that'll stop me like, well, wait a minute.
Mm.
You know, I don't get that.
You hit on something a second ago about the bloodline, which I think any wrestling fan watching knows this is a great storyline.
Yes.
That's how the old storylines were. They were either based on a fact or some kind of made-up fact that was pushed in,
Right.
like Gene and Arn being brothers.
Right.
They weren't.
And it was just, and it's like this, you know, back in the day, if a guy had hurt himself, he had an injury, and he had to go out and have surgery or something, well, we'd take that and we'd use that, you know, whether we'd make some guy really act like he really broke his arm because we knew he had to leave. Well, that left that guy strong. He breaks his arm, puts this guy out. Now when that guy recovers, he's got something to come back to.
Yeah.
No, they,
You said something earlier about make it make sense. It's like, that's my sermon every time I give it to kids in seminars, is just make it make sense. When, back then, and I belabor this point to the viewer, so I apologize, but I want you to hear it again from another legend. If you would have, let's say the horse would hit the ring and clobbered you with brass knuckles, start beating Dusty up.
Mhm.
If you'd have jumped up 2 seconds later and started ringing the bell, what would have happened?
I probably got knocked the hell out of, or I know I was fired.
Yeah, or both.
Yeah,
Or
yeah, you
both.
get both of them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's when I'm watching today, I see kids do things that are astoundingly athletic, and they'll do the kick to the head or something and fall like they've been shot, but literally 2 or 3 or 4 seconds later, they're going backflips.
Nobody sells anymore.
Right.
No, it's. I was talking to some guys last night. I was at the show, and I'm like, what would you do if you was in a real fight? If you was somebody who was really kicking the shit out of you, what would you do? Would you? I said, when you're out there, back here, you're you. When you're out there, you're that guy. Okay,
Right.
so you have to make those people believe
Yes.
this is really happening to you. I said, one guy to watch is Ricky Morton. Pull some of his stuff up and look how he sold.
Steamboat,
He
yeah.
sold Steamboat, those guys. So then when that babyface made that comeback, it meant something. People were up, yes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it has to make sense.
Yeah.
And it's so easy to make sense, it's reality.
Yes, simple to do. Yes.
Yeah.
I had just gone to see the movie Sound of Freedom with my son and an actor friend of mine, Ned Roswell, and was blown away by it. And I remember sitting there watching. Well, the first thing that blew me away is there's 2 child actors in it that every time you see, and I mean, the boy's young, 4 or 5 years old,
Mm-hmm.
and the whole movie, 2.5 hours. Every time you see these kids on screen, you never get the feeling I'm watching 2 child actors. You feel like you're like looking at some kind of machine.
Like you're right there.
Yes, and to me, that as I'm watching this movie, I'm cross-referencing it in my head with things in wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
I remember watching things as a kid and thinking, "Oh my God, like Bruno Sammartino's bleeding," or somebody just got dumped off of this, or whatever the heat was.
Right.
And I think there's a lack of that today. I don't want to say it's sanitized, but there's much less of that today.
It's not what it used to be.
Yeah.
It's just that simple. And like I said, I think we just went to the entertainment side, and I guess that's what it's gonna be.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Would you agree, when I talk to the kids and they'll ask me for advice, I said, one thing I would tell you, most of the things I would tell you wouldn't apply today, like selling and firing up and things. But the idea of, and plugging in your make it make sense, if you go out there and start to not mimic, but replicate some of the feel of what old school wrestling used to be, if you get kicked in the head, if you jump right back up, a second later you ought to be rubbing your head like, you got clobbered a second ago.
Going back to what I said,
Yeah.
if you're in a real fight and somebody kicked you in your head, would you get right up from that?
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? So it's the same identical thing, you know what I mean? It didn't happen, but they don't know.
Yeah,
Always, God told me one time, he says, they don't feel what we do, they see what we do.
Oh, yeah, well said, yeah.
And that's
Sure.
yeah.
You see this spot today that a lot of the kids do, again, exhibiting amazing athleticism, sometimes even seemingly defying gravity.
Mm-hmm.
But they'll be in the ring, hitting the ropes, bouncing around, flipping over each other, rolling, and then they stop face to face, and one of them will drop to his knees and do this thing. I guess it comes from anime comics. And the one kid, Moose was with me, we were in Detroit, and that happened. I yelled out, "What the fuck?" And the kid came back at me and said, "Was that?" Because he knew I was sitting where the area I was sitting in. I said, "Yeah, it was me." And I asked him, I said, "If I was in a bar fight with you, and we were clogging around that bar, hanging and banging, all of a sudden we stopped, would you stop and drop down on your knees and turn your face to me or turn your back to me? I wish you would, because I'd kick your teeth out of your face.
For me now.
Go drink my beer," right? Make it make sense. Put the ropes between you. Put the referee between you. Something, but not.
And we gotta start thinking.
Yes.
You're starting to think out there. You know what I mean? Sometimes some stuff that you don't plan, it automatically comes to you sometime. And I'll tell you a story. I remember one time I was a referee and I was with Spike Dudley and he was wrestling somebody. And I think he went out to the outside and I saw Spike standing there and he was like confused. I guess he forgot his spot. And I looked over at him. I said, "Baseball slide." And it hit him. He said, "Oh yeah, fuck." And he went right to it, and he thanked me forever. In the back, I'm like, "Man, it's all right."
Yeah.
He said, "Teddy, I totally forgot. I went black out there,
And that's it. I call it the deer in headlights look. You see it almost every match.
Yeah.
They'll be doing something and there's this blank stare.
So right then, if they forgot that spot or they lost.
Back in our day, could you have remembered an entire match and gone out and done it?
No.
Me either. Nor did I want to.
Right.
Being blessed, one of the names I always mention, there's so many that I learned from, respect, love for having taught me. And but I remember watching Ricky Morton. Because they were semi-main, I was usually one or two matches before them.
Mm-hmm.
So I would watch Ricky in the back. Ricky back then was partying and having his fun and doing all that. Robert was off telling his jokes and comments and everything. Ricky'd be watching the monitor or the curtain, and he would see something. At the time, I didn't know what it was. And he'd grab Robert. So I followed him one time. What are they doing? Because I've seen it almost, a couple times a week. I'm seeing this, and I follow him. Here, he saw this match. Say they're working the leg. They might have planned to work the leg in their match.
So he wouldn't grab Robert and let him know we can't do that now. Those guys done did that.
Work the neck, work the back, work the arm, something different.
And the other thing too, Shane, is like when you first go out, they would always tell you, don't go to the outside. Save that for the main event. The main event is going on the outside.
Right.
If all the first three matches, if all of you on the outside, well, when the main event comes and does that, don't mean that. They done seen it.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
And see, that became one of the issues in ECW in those mid years, 95, 6, like in that range, where I remember the first time Sabu put somebody through a table, the place lost its mind. And so did we in the back, right? Next week, there were 10 tables broken. Once somebody started using the chairs, a few weeks, month later, every match. Everybody's now getting the color, which is why, coincidentally, the franchise, the main event, only had it there a couple times because I thought, if I'm going to do it, I want it to mean something in the main event.
Right.
And again, I think all these basic tenets that you and I know like the back of our hands, because we've lived it for so long, is that it's become like the holy grail in wrestling. Basic commonsensical things that you should do. Like if we were in a fight, I don't think many kids today have been in fights in their life. Like we had to grow up fighting.
Oh, they got beat up.
Yeah, I wanted to. But the idea that Bill Watts used to have that saying, think, shoot, but work. And that really draws together all the stuff we're talking about. And watch the matches, and think with that mantra in your head and watch what is making sense here. You just got clobbered by 3 guys, slammed you on your head, shot you with a gun, stabbed you with a knife. 2 seconds later, you're doing backflips and kicking them in the head.
Right.
Bill Watts would be having a stroke right now.
So you just killed everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, all that hard work you done put in, you killed it off just that quick.
Yeah, absolutely. It's I know we're getting short on time. Still have a few minutes. We good? Okay. Sorry for that. Teddy's going.
We got our producer here. He's behind the scenes, so he don't want to be seen. He's
not good enough looking like us to be on camera.
He owes a lot of money to child support.
So, since the WWF run, you've been working. I've seen you at several places, like in Georgia, working with the music producer down there. What are you doing these days? Like, keep yourself busy on the circuit?
Well, I'm still, working with something. And it's like when you were down there in Georgia, trying to help this guy out. Boy, I tell you, they just don't get it. And he was a guy that was lucky enough to get somebody that had a lot of money and they wanted to put it invested in wrestling. If these guys could quit thinking that they're Vince McMahon, they'd be all right.
Yeah.
Quit trying to be the WWE. The WWE is already established. You do what you need to do.
Yeah.
You don't worry about them. You can't stop them. They're already they're made.
The first day I met Dixie Carter, she said to me, she followed me down to the green room after being introduced to us at the production meeting. And she came into the green room and started reciting my resume to me as if I didn't know it. And then she said, my father's very impressed, and he wants me to ask you if there's one piece of advice, what would it be? I said, oh, man, it's one thing. I could give him a million pieces. And as I'm getting dressed, I'm thinking, now the show has started. So the monitor, the show has started. TV's over in this corner. She's in this corner in the doorway. And I said, well, just exactly what you said. I said, if I could only give him one piece of advice, I would give him the advice of don't try to be WWF 2, WWF Light, WWF Junior. Be TNA #1.
Yes.
Go like ECW. And here's where I made my mistake. And I said, like ECW did. We went for the 18 to 49 male demographic and we owned them. Her response to me was, well, why would we want to copy ECW? After all, they failed. And as she said that, the monitor started chanting ECW, ECW. So I just sort of stared at the monitor and back at her. The ultimate success is like Vince, right? He's become the NFL of our industry. But along the way, the NWA had some pretty successful years. WCW beat him for what, 88 weeks?
NWA was it.
Yes.
That's where it started.
Right. Memphis, Portland, Mid-South, later UWF. Right. And if somebody would have taken those pieces, they would see in those pieces, this is something different than Vince is doing. We can make it original to us.
Right.
And the end result of that, of her not following that advice, was $673 million. Nothing to show for it.
Well, she was a mark.
Yeah.
Some people just don't smarten up. And I was talking to Moose, our good friend today, about my wife.
Yeah.
She been with me, well, she's passed now, but she's been her 30 years and she would never smarten up. She'd look at the TV and she'd be talking to him, don't hit him, don't. And I'm looking at her.
Yeah.
And then she'd look back at me. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. But she get so wrapped up in it, but she just was having a good time. She was having her fun.
Like telling parents, if you have kids in the room right now, turn the sound down. It's like telling kids there's no Santa Claus, right? They don't want to know that.
No.
My dad's crazy. My dad, when I was born, the night Ricky and I beat Dustin and Barry for the titles. We're on live TV, so I come back and run right to the pavement. I call my dad, and he's crying. My dad was 48 when I was born, so he's older now. And he's crying because his son's won a belt. Now, we've got like 90 seconds we have to be on set because Barry's going to come back and beat the crap out of us and, get the sauce. So we go, I'll call you right back, Dad. Run to the set, get it done, come back. Call. My stepmother answers. She said, he won't come to the phone. He just threw an ashtray through the TV. And so I said, put him on the phone. I didn't want my dad having a heart attack or something like this, right? So I lied stooged. It's all pretend the blood's all stage blood. It's a mattress out there. And for 45 minutes, I'm belaboring this point to my dad. And I said, do you understand that? He goes, yeah. I said, do you have any questions? Just one. I said, what's that, Dad? He goes, why do they always put these little guys in with these big guys? That's not fair. Your wife, the kids, right? They don't want to know about Santa. He wanted to enjoy it. He wanted to imbue himself in it, dive into it, and have fun.
But he had sense enough to know that didn't make sense.
Yeah.
Why is this little guy always with this big guy?
Yeah.
And that's self-explanatory. Little guy ain't got a chance.
Yeah. And the big guy's getting heat.
Exactly.
So,
Right. But that was the part your dad just didn't know. There was a reason why the little guy was out there.
Yeah.
Everything is done for a reason. That's what people should understand.
Yeah, and again, kids out there in the business learning, hoping all these conversations with my friends,
Right.
that you're taking a lot of this stuff away because somebody that's done it for 40 years,
40 years.
40 years, 80 years, almost a century of experience between the two of us, and every person I've had sitting in that chair says pretty much the same thing.
Yeah.
Take it, learn from it, make it different, and make it make sense. Teddy, I know you're going to get on the road, but I really want to have you back. So
Before we wrap it up, I was just going to tell you asked about what I'm doing. I have the legend deal with WWE, so I go back whenever they call me to do stuff. So, but I do a lot of Comic Cons. I do a lot of indie shows. I have my own podcast. It's Road Trip After Hours, along with me and Mac Davis. I also do one with Sports Kedia and Bill Apter and Mac Davis called The Time Machine. And other than that, man, I'm just enjoying the rest of my life. And to be able to be sitting here talking with people like you that I've known, through my whole career, man, and thank God, man, we're still alive.
yeah,
That's
this morning.
Oh God, and I've done it all, like kids. I'm telling you, A to Z. I have done it all. So God has blessed me. So don't tell me that you can't make it, because you can. I've done it, and I know you can do it.
Absolutely, brother. I appreciate you being here.
No problem.
We got to have you back, man, because with all my friends, I always say, we're just scratching the surface. There's so much more I want to get into.
Yeah.
Because I think there's a lot of stuff that somebody like you, somebody like Ron, people of color in today's world, that we can try to put some of this in a box to make it make sense to people.
Right.
And hopefully on the other side of that, be in a place where it's a much better world.
Well, I'm just hoping that whatever we say here today, or say somewhere down the line, that somebody will be able to come back to us and say, hey, I remember you guys told me that, and I did it, and look where I'm at.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Everybody, Appalachian Expose, I appreciate you being here. Of course, Teddy Long. Too many strings after that. Referee, backstage manager, company manager,
Did it all.
disc jockey. Did it all. So, see you next time on Appalachian Expose. Teddy, appreciate you, brother.
All right.
Good
How
seeing you,
long?
man. Thank you.
All right.